earlier point, the creator economy is just becoming the economy, right? I don't believe everyone's going to be a creator, but I believe everybody, if you want to be relevant in 2025, 2035 as a business, you need to be on social. You need to know how to make content. And so that's why I think of Karat's market as continuing to grow and expand as well.
Well, Eric, thank you for kindly hosting us at your offices.
No, thank you for hosting me on your podcast.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Mickey and I, we've known Karat for a while now. We followed you maybe since like 2021, 2022.
Wow, that goes back almost to our early days. We've been around for 5-6 years. That's like 3-4 years ago.
But the concept was always really, really interesting. Credit card and kind of banking for creators.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what Karat does and what's your role in it?
Yeah, so we've been doing this for 5 years. We work with creators and help them with financial services because many of the biggest YouTubers in the world, even though they're making meaningful income, when they walk into a normal bank, no bank understands what they do. So it's really hard for them to get access to credit, to get access to high quality banking services. So to give you a couple of examples, we work with one creator named Alexandra Botez, who is a very popular chess player and streamer on Twitch. And when she applied for a business credit card, she was rejected from her bank 2-3 times because they look at her and it's like, how do you make income? Are you working for another company? Oh, you make content online. What does that even mean? And in America, if a bank doesn't understand what you do, it makes it really hard for them to extend you reasonable credit limits, but also even potentially to just open up a bank account for you and let you move money around. And the context before doing this company, I used to work at Instagram. I helped build Instagram Live. And so I got to work with all of these different creators and see firsthand, gosh, they really need help on the business financial piece. So let's go build that ecosystem for them.
Got it. And then your role there is?
Yeah, I'm the co-founder. Together, I have another co-founder. His name's Will. And we split the company where I focus a lot on ensuring we're building the right products to solve problems for creators. And he's very focused on ensuring that the financial institutions we partner with also understand what we're doing. Because everything we build is a licensed financial product. Our business credit card that many creators like Alex Botez, Ludwig, Kai Cenat, it is a Visa credit card. The business banking we offer is also in conjunction with a real partner bank.
Got it. And then let's talk about a little bit more about the problem that you just kind of mentioned about how creators, it's really hard for them to get kind of financial service, get banking services. I remember watching a Japanese TV show where they brought on these very successful YouTubers to try to get to buy a house. And every single time they would get rejected, even if they were like willing to put up like half the money up front in cash. And they're like, Yeah,
because think about how the existing financial ecosystem works. So they underwrite you, which means they look at your metrics and decide, do I want to give you money? Do I think you're going to pay it back? And in America, the main system everybody uses is called a credit score, or FICO. FICO was developed in the 1950s by two guys named Fair and Isaac. FICO used to be an acronym, the Fair and Isaac Company. And so the internet didn't even exist, let alone being a creator. So FICO doesn't capture so many measures of whether you are a successful business. It primarily looks at, have you taken credit out before? Have you borrowed before and have you paid it back? And so for many creators, they're so busy focused on content, they might not have previously borrowed money or taken out credit, but they might actually still have really strong financials. So then yes, they're not able to get credit cards with good limits. They're not able to get mortgages to move into homes. They're not able to get access to loans to go and purchase cars. Sometimes we see creators where they will open up a bank account and the bank account will literally not let them move more than like $1,000 a day, even though they make millions of dollars. I think a favorite story of mine, and you can throw this up on B-roll, there's a creator named Ray Asian Boy. He's a member of this group called AMP with Kai Cenat, one of the biggest streamers out there. And there's a tweet he made that said, how the heck did Chase not let me spend $50 on my card? Except he uses far more profane language and expletives to describe the situation. And it's not even like credit, it's just his bank account. It's because they don't understand what he does.
Yeah, I think, and so how does Karat kind of change that, right? What do you look at that's different from traditional banks?
So we understand creators as real businesses and we underwrite them looking at not just credit history, but also your finances and your social stats. So going back to our previous example, Alex Botez, even though she didn't necessarily have a ton of credit history, even though the bank didn't understand what she did and rejected her 2-3 times, we look at her and we're like, wow, she's making very high income.
Right.
Like enough that most people who would understand it would be like, man, maybe I should try being a streamer.
Yep.
Can absolutely afford to have a much higher limit. And what we do is we go to the banks and say, partner with us. We will send you quality businesses and we will take on the risk. If, for example, they default on their credit card or if they set up a business bank account and there are funds being moved in that are not legitimate, we, Karat, will eat the costs. So we take on the risk. And the bank says, that sounds like a good deal. We'll provide the financial services. You take on the risk, and then we also build the products themselves, the actual website that the creators interact with.
Right, because that was going to be my next question: is how do you getting usually like a banking license or getting financial kind of being approved for financial services tends to be very difficult, especially in the U.S. And so I'm assuming you work with kind of partner companies.
That's exactly right. So, for example, we're literally in the process of launching business banking for creators. So we started with the business credit card,
right?
But now we're moving into, hey, we actually want to help get you a business checking account for you to deposit and hold your funds. We want to give you good yield on that account as well.
Right.
That required years of work and negotiation to find the right banking partner who understood these are real businesses. Because every bank is always worried about, oh my gosh, what if these funds are fraudulent? What if this isn't legitimate? And we've done a lot of work to help them explain when you see a streamer or YouTuber moving, $100,000 into an account, this is real, this is legitimate, but we have to follow all of the regulations and compliance and explain to them why this is okay.
Got it.
We're like a bridge between these two very different worlds.
Right. And then, because you take on a lot of the risk for the creators, that makes the banking partners really
and it's part of what everyone always asks is, what's the dream? What's the vision? I believe that every business will learn how to use content for marketing purposes. I don't know if everyone's going to be a creator or YouTuber, but every entrepreneur that's Gen Z or Gen Alpha, whenever they're building products or services, they know they need to market it through content. And so our goal is every creator or content business, they're banking with Karat, they're paying their employees through Karat, they're doing their taxes, they're getting credit through Karat. It's very similar to what Square has done in the United States or Stripe. Both of them started with different segments. Square started with mom and pop coffee shops. Stripe started with online e-commerce businesses. Both of them expanded to offer all these financial services for a very wide market.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point about kind of the next generation of entrepreneurs, creators, starting off with content, I think even if you look at a lot of the entrepreneurs today, I think Mickey and I kind of talked about this in a previous pod where a lot of the entrepreneurs today are like a lot better at marketing, a lot better at content creation. They've built a following first before they launch product. So I feel like this is kind of the next generation of entrepreneurs who understand that you not only have to build product, you have to build content, kind of lifestyle and kind of a brand beforehand, right?
I think a great example of this, a creator we've worked with by the name of Nadia Okamoto, she runs a venture-backed consumer company where she sells female hygienic products like tampons. She also herself is an influencer who talks about the importance of feminine hygienic care. And so the question is she a creator who's learned to monetize by developing a product to sell, or is she just a founder who is really smart about using content? Well, over time, the two will actually be one the same. Another example, we have a mutual friend who connected us to Sarah Du. Sarah Du is an incredibly capable and talented entrepreneur who's raised millions of dollars from companies like Andreessen Horowitz. And her company, it's mostly focused on selling to businesses, but she herself has a social presence. She has a very strong presence on LinkedIn, which in turn, the content she makes there can also help serve as marketing for her brand, for her company.
Makes sense. And in terms of what Karat has done, I think past examples is kind of like a Shark Tank like program. What's kind of some of the initiatives you've done?
So we've talked a lot about the necessity of how do you build a good financial product for creators. You do it by understanding them, building a better underwriting model, partnering with the right banks. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about, okay, but how do you bring awareness and education to the creators that they need this as well? because many of them are so focused on content, they don't even know that they should pay their taxes.
Right.
And in 2020, the US government had a program called PPP where they gave stimulus money. They gave loans that would be forgiven by the government to businesses to help for COVID relief. We tried getting access to this money to YouTubers, and every YouTuber we went to actually said no because they didn't even know what it was. So we've talked a lot. You can build the product, but you also have to think through, how do you let creators know? And the best marketing you can do is to make your own content. And so we've done 3 different types of content. The first is many of the creators we work with, they actually make content around our products. They've shared photos of our credit cards, or when they join our banking service, or we feature them on billboards, and they'll go fly out and take photos and share it. And that's like incredibly strong endorsement. The second type is we used to put together events like Creator Shark Tank, because we want to say, hey, creators are businesses, they're entrepreneurs. We put together an event where we had many top creators as judges. Folks like Graham Stephan, who's a top personal finance YouTuber. Folks like Jack Conte, who not only is a musician, he's also the CEO of Patreon, another company that helps creators. And we brought in startups to go pitch to them because it's showing and framing creators are entrepreneurs too. And the third type of content we've done is actually podcasts. So we've done so many podcasts with creators where we bring them on and we have them share their story, because it's a great way of each of us getting to build our brand. And over time, we've seen creators become more aware. Hey, I'm not just a creative, I'm a business. I need to care about credit. I need to care about taxes and business banking. I've seen Karat through all of these different types of content. So now I know I should go to them and figure out how to set myself up to succeed.
In terms of, kind of future plans for Karat, obviously starting credit cards, kind of business banking, in the future, loans to creators, like what's kind of the next step?
Yeah, so we're a venture-backed business. We've raised over $50 million in equity. The vision is always, we want every dollar in the creator economy to go through us. And as you alluded to, so we started, our first product was a business credit card that gave creators higher limits and rewards based off their social financial stats. Our next product is business banking, where we give them a better user experience. We are going to build AI automated bookkeeping to help them with their taxes. We're offering them more yield on their accounts than they would get from many other different financial institutions. The next step after that is going to be thinking through, okay, what if a creator one day wants to potentially get a house? We want to be able to help them with their mortgage. What if a creator one day says, hey, how come when I do a brand deal, even after I've posted the content, it takes me 30, 60, 90 days for me to get that money from the brand? Is there a way Karat can help speed that up? One day, we're going to also build, as more creators use more and more Karat financial products, as AI is getting better, creators should be able to just ask AI, ask Karat and say, hey, like, how much am I making? How much am I spending? Which videos are doing well? Which lines of business are making me money? Which ones are making me lose money? And also just learn how to build that back into the con side of their business and change what they're doing there as well.
That makes sense. Can you talk a little bit about, obviously the concept of the creator economy really kind of blew up in 2020, 2021. And at the same time, there's a rise of a lot of creator services, like Karat, like a lot of other ones. And I think in 2022, 2023, there's a kind of a decline, especially in kind of the fundraising side. And now it's a little bit better, but it's obviously not. I don't think it's ever really going to be at the 2020, 2021
so
levels.
I think there's 2 points here. I think the first point was, yes, there was so much excitement around 2020 when people realized it is getting so easy to post content online and build a following. And you can monetize off of that, and it's a business. So everybody rushed in during 2020 because, of course, we're all sitting at home. Online content is really the only way we're connecting with each other and saying, gosh, how can I support this new generation of creatives and businesses? Because everybody is going to be making content online. Now, the second point is there was a mistake made where many creators during this period found ways to monetize and grow through short form, like TikTok, where the old version was you go post on YouTube, these 15-minute, hour-long videos, and people find you, they subscribe to you, and they monetize their following a specific way. With short form, you're creating these little units of content that are fed to people through an algorithm customized for them. And so suddenly, everybody's getting views, everybody's getting followers, but they didn't realize those followers aren't worth the same, and they can't be monetized the same way. And so you saw this explosion of creators and followers in 2021. everyone rushed in. And around 2022, 2023, they realized, hey, I can't monetize 1 million followers on TikTok the same way I monetize them 1 million followers on YouTube. But here's what's really cool. In the past year, that's beginning to change. In the past year, creators are figuring out how to monetize short form. Now we're seeing this entire generation of what I would call creative entrepreneurs who really just use short form content as like organic ads, where they use them essentially as native commercials and upsell to a paid community or to an offering. And so this new segment of creators are very different because they're not posting long form videos where, oh, hey, I'm monetizing with brand deals. They're just posting essentially, hey, it's a 60-second clip that's like an ad where I'm selling you this other product or service. So the creator economy is changing because it's no longer as much, hey, here are creatives who make money to make content. Now it's more about entrepreneurs who are savvy about how to use short form content to grow awareness of what they're doing. So I think of it as the creator economy has evolved and changed. It's more just becoming the regular economy where businesses have to be savvy about marketing themselves with content. And that's the market that Karat is going to continue to grow with and expand.
Got it. I remember, you mentioned kind of the value of, followers is different from each platform. I remember in 2022, I think it was, you had this kind of calculator where
we did a study.
Yeah, where you would, I think, input kind of your followers from each platform, and then it would kind of show you the value, and then you could see the value per platform. And I think Instagram was, I think, on average the highest per follower, and then TikTok was the lowest at that point. You've talked about it evolving now. If you were to kind of re-rank it today, where do you think things would stand?
So what we saw when we did this analysis, because we work with the creators, we help them with their finances, we built this underwriting model, was actually the earliest inklings of what I just described to you. Why was Instagram the highest? Because people can use it to sell their own business products and services. You would think YouTube might be the highest, or Twitch, because your audience is so engaged with you, because that's a longer piece of content. There's more opportunities to build affinity with them, connection, and promote like brand deals. But what people didn't realize, and what we began to saw with that analysis was, but on Instagram, I can be a bakery and I can promote content about my bakery there, and people see it and it goes viral and it drives people to my bakery. If I'm a bakery, how do I do that on YouTube? That is so much work, to post 10-minute videos about life of a baker.
And you have to edit it.
You have to edit it. It's so much more for creative work, and there will always be a place for that. But the reason why Instagram was so much higher was because it did such an easy job making simple for businesses to promote. And however, what Instagram has that TikTok didn't have, because TikTok, you might think it's also short form content, right? It's also easy for a bakery to go post something. Instagram started as a social network. So there's this whole layer of comments and direct messages where a business can then nurture those initial views into paying customers. TikTok isn't really a social network. It's just a feed of content being shot at you. There's not that same concept of, I'm going to follow you, I'm going to connect with you.
Even if you follow someone on TikTok, oftentimes you don't remember who they are.
Yeah, it's just, oh, here's this content. I don't really know who they are. People aren't really messaging with each other on TikTok the same way they are on Instagram. So to answer your question, I would expect Instagram to continue being top. I think TikTok will begin to rise in value because people are realizing, gosh, I can't monetize TikTok the same way I did with YouTube with these branderies. I also can't treat it like Instagram where I have this journey and I nurture them to customers. People are figuring out new formats. Like now, a lot of people are using TikTok just to do live streaming of product sales, right? So I expect it's going to rise. And I think over time, YouTube and Twitch will probably stay where they are because, again, they are very monetizable, but they're more static in that it's hard for new business entrepreneurs to just put out a lot of content on YouTube the same way they can with short form.
Got it. So I guess in a sense, for brands, for example, it makes a lot of sense to go on Instagram, TikTok as well, rather than kind of a YouTube or maybe a Twitch.
Totally. But see, that's what's really cool to my earlier point. The creator economy is just becoming the economy, right? I don't believe everyone's going to be a creator, but I believe everybody, if you want to be relevant in 2025, 2035 as a business, you need to be on social. You need to know how to make content. And so that's why I think of Karat's market as continuing to grow and expand as well.
Got it. I've seen a lot of successful, software companies and a few kind of, IRL businesses have multiple TikTok accounts, or they've hired a lot of kind of ambassadors and stuff. What do you think are some of like the most recent kind of trends you've seen on TikTok or on short form that have performed pretty well?
There's this new trend called clipping. And what it specifically refers to is, say you have long form content like videos or podcasts. Once upon a time, you look at your long form content and you yourself clip it into shorter segments that you can then go put on your short form channels to promote people to go click on it, be like, oh, I want to see more, go to your long form. That's already been done, tried. What's new is this new phenomenon called clipping, where I will take my content, I will give it to a group of individuals and say, hey, you guys go and clip my content and turn it into shorts and post it on your own random accounts that are not my own accounts.
Right.
Because with algorithms, even if they're on brand new accounts, it might still get picked up and become popular. And I'll just pay you a CPM. I'll pay you $10 for every 1,000 views that you can get. This is new.
And this is the advantage of TikTok and Reels, because even if you don't have any followers, if the content's good, it
precisely.
will be
This is
shared.
only possible because now you don't have to post it on a pre-existing account.
Right.
People, you can just give it to this group. They'll post it on their accounts. The content might blow up anyways. You've essentially discovered AdSense for UGC, user-generated content. So we're seeing a lot of creators and brands say, here's my long-form content, take it to a group, just clip it however you'd like. I'll just pay you for the number of views you get and just post it on all your channels. And if it gets picked up, that's a win.
And how do you kind of create that kind of creator group that you work with? Do you just like find people and just DM them, or how does that
There's an
usually work?
entire industry out there of content savvy individuals who gather together other people who see this as a side hustle and want to make money. It's like, hey, if you were like 10 years ago, say you're really good at like watching these podcasts and be like, this was a good moment. What do you do with that? Nothing. I guess you could like try to apply to become their editor, but they're probably gonna have one editor. You kind of just, your talents go to waste. Now there's an entire ecosystem of young people who've grown up on social media. They're so good at knowing here are the parts to clip, and now you can employ them. You can like put them into groups and say, hey, I'm gonna give you this content, and if you clip it, you actually get to earn money. And so if you look at many of the, like Drake, the greatest musicians, the biggest musicians now, Drake actually just did clipping. He found these groups, like gave them his song. They all took segments of it, they posted it on their other accounts, it blew up, and he paid the money, and everybody wins. It's like, this is what I'm talking about. There's like new interesting things you can do with content when you look at it more from a business lens, as opposed to, hey, I'm just going to post this video about my life and it's on YouTube and it's 15 minutes long.
So in that sense, do you think it is, you know, somewhat relevant or important to create kind of these long form, you know, highly clippable, you know, content like a podcast, like live stream, like a longer YouTube video? Yeah,
I think in content, you're going to see what I call the bathtub curve effect, where there's a bathtub where you're either going to have a lot of people who are really good at short form content, and then a lot of people who are really good at long form content, because that's where you need to be, the extremes on each side. Don't be in the middle, because there's really no opportunity there. And I think there will be a place for both formats, Obviously, short form is so effective at capturing human attention. The algorithms are so good at getting you what you want to see, and it's a very effective upsell. And there will always be a place for long form, because like, you know, movies are still going to exist, right? Definitely. People want to watch things. There's a human impulse to want to see how a story plays out that's much harder over short form. And now you'll see interplay between the two, like what we described. Oh, like maybe the short form is clipping from the long form. I do believe both formats will exist, but you have to be very deliberate. I think what will sort of go by the wayside and will not work anymore is like some weird thing. It's like not good enough to capture my attention for long form, but it's like too long to be clippable for short form. And then you're just in this middle of the bathtub and there's just like no opportunity there.
Yeah, I think you're definitely seeing this bifurcation where I think even on YouTube, you're seeing a lot more videos that are over 30 minutes long. And I think that's a result of, you know, people being driven to short form as well. And so there's also a bigger need for long form content.
That's exactly right.
Makes sense. In terms of, you know, where we are today in the creator economy, like, you know, how should creators think about, you know, if they want to get started? You know, should they immediately go short form? Like, you know, is this should they start as a side business? I think most creators start kind of as a side hustle and then they kind of go beyond. But I think most Gen Alpha, they want to be YouTubers, they want to be TikTok creators. You know, what would be your advice on kind of helping them on their path?
I think it's become so easy to make content and distribute it that you should choose the format that plays most to your strengths. So for example, for myself, the content I create is primarily podcasts because I love conversations and getting to share, getting to learn. That doing podcasts for me, when I started a few years ago, I didn't know anything, but like, cool, you just like put 2 people down, get like some microphone, get like a camera, it could be like a phone, and like, cool, you're good to go. So start with like the simplest version of the format that you want to do, right? For other people, hey, like the content they want to make is like, I just want to dance. Right. Cool, put your phone down, record yourself dancing, boom, put it on. There are some people that are like, no, I want to create films, record a film, put it onto YouTube. It really comes down to what you want to make. You don't need to think too hard about it. Everyone kind of instinctively knows like this is the type of thing that I would want to do. Yeah. Just do it with the simplest possible equipment, throw it up there. Some people might see it, some people might not. And if you like it over time, you can learn how to improve the quality and eventually get to a point where then you monetize, and then that becomes a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, I think there's two thoughts that I would have is one is, to not have a huge expectation on it. Right. Because there's, just do it for fun. We'll see where it 100%. Goes. And I think the second part is you really have to like the process. Yes. Right. It is a hard job. Yeah. It's you have to keep thinking what you're gonna do next. You have to kind of one up yourself every single time. And so, creative burnout's obviously a big thing.
Yeah. When I mentioned, I don't necessarily think that everybody would be a creator, but everyone's going to be making content. That's applicable, important, not only from a business POV, oh yes, I can use this to advertise myself, but also from a personal POV. Content is so much more sustainable when it's part of your broader life. And it's something that you can create without too much difficulty or concern as you just do everything else that's going on. For example, both Chloe, I have another podcast with a friend called Chloe Shi, and we used to do this together. And both Chloe and I live very full lives outside of content. So when we make content, there's a lot of experiences that inform what we want to make. And that is lost if we were just to focus on, oh, I must get this out and I must hit these views. There's a saying, I want to say it's from a Y Combinator Paul Graham essay or something else, where he talks about, what's the best way to build a perfect startup? And it's a little bit of a facetious answer, but it's an honest one. It's to, make yourself perfect first and do what comes naturally. I think the kernel of truth in that is very much content works best when it is a reflection of your creativity from the life you were living already.
Makes sense. Let's shift gears a little bit. Want to talk a little bit about Japan?
Yeah, of course.
Japan, I think the creator economy is a little bit different there, but I think I don't think Karat's going to Japan.
We're focused on the United States first because the financial regulatory systems require us to start with the U.S. and they're very different country by country.
Have you ever been to Japan?
I haven't, but I have read so much manga. Probably any manga you can think of, I've probably either heard of it or I've read it.
What are I'm not going to ask you for your top manga because I think that's really hard, but some of your favorites.
So obviously the big 3, right? One Piece, Bleach, Naruto. I think those are easy ones.
You grew up in that era.
Yeah, of course. I think those are easy ones to start with. Some of the ones I've been reading more recently, there's one called Dan Dan Dan.
Yes.
I've really, really enjoyed.
That's an awesome one.
There's another one, oh gosh, I forget the name. It's about Rakugo.
Oh, really?
Right, which is the art where you sit and you tell stories. Yeah. It's almost like the Japanese tradition of, straight man comic routines.
Comedies. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I don't know anything about Rakugo. I'm not Japanese. I don't even know if I'm saying the name correctly.
You are.
Oh, great. But there's this manga, and the name, again, I don't know how to pronounce Japanese. It's like Akabane. It's like the name of this. We'll throw it up on the side. Yep. There's only one really popular manga about Rakugo right now. It so interested me and immersed me in this. Wow, like here's this tradition. There's this cast of characters trying to modernize it. How much can you change to adapt it? How much of it do you need to stay true to the traditions? And you follow these characters as they develop their own storytelling styles. Even though I know absolutely nothing about it, I'm like, oh, like this is like absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Right?
No, it's I think there's definitely a bunch of mangas where I think I learned the rules of American football through iShield 21.
Oh, I love iShield 21.
It's an incredible manga. And like I learned about like cycling through Yowamushi pedal, like all these different like niches that, I
mean, I live in America and I learned about football through iShield 21.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I like didn't even know all the rules. I'm like, oh, this is like what a first down is. Right. Yeah, the devil bats.
Yes, the devil bats. Yes. Yep. No, I think manga's a great learning kind of thing. And I think one of the things that I really love about manga in Japan is I feel like that's almost the closest thing that we have to the startup ecosystem in the US because it's so competitive and the second you're no longer relevant, you just get kicked out.
Yeah, it's ruthless. I mean, here in the States, right, we always follow. We're like, oh no, like I really like this one. Like, why did it get canceled? It's like, oh, because the Japanese readers like voted it and it ranked 20 out of 20 for the last 3 weeks. We're like, darn. Gosh, there's one. Oh, gosh, I want to say the name. Is it Bakuman?
Bakuman, yes.
Bakuman actually chronicles, as you know, a lot of what it's like to try and stay relevant on those rankings.
It's by
and
the
achieve.
Death Note, folks.
Yes, it's like his version, and it's funny because it's very meta, right? He's talking through how you went in the manga industry, and even his own works have reflected, like, here's a serious one, here's a comic one. Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to the folks at Shonen Jump, and they said it's about 80% accurate.
Oh wow, so that's a very, very high accuracy, right?
So it's definitely very relevant, very relevant.
But like even manga, right? There's such an interesting parallel here to the creator industry where there's just like, obviously it's become easier and easier to create manga. There's such a competitive field. You've now seen people try and go into other formats like this is not quite manga, but like webtoons, right? Webtoons is a different format where there's like, oh, it's trying to democratize, like anybody can become like a webtoon creator and like post something here, right? I still think you're beginning to see these trends where people are like, oh, I want to create, and there are easier ways for me to do so than before.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think anything, if you were to visit Japan, what would be?
I think Japan has such a refined aesthetic and creative culture. I think in many ways it's honored creativity in a way that the West has not, right? I think in the West, often the implication behind creativity is how does this translate to business, right? How can I monetize this? Or how can I support myself financially from this? I think in Japan, from my own very limited and humble understanding, I sense there's a lot of passion for the art.
Yes.
Where there is focus on craft and ensuring that this is quality in its own right without necessarily thinking about the implications behind it.
I think there's a good and bad part about this, right? Where the craftsmanship, it's unparalleled, right? You see this not just in, like manga, but you see this in like restaurants as well. Where like
Jiro dreams of sushi,
Or just like really small mom and pop shops that do not care at all about scaling. They're just so focused on the craft and people are super happy with them. But at the same time, I think one of the issues in Japan is we don't talk a lot about money. It's kind of taboo. And so, I think some of the influence from the US actually might be super helpful here, where I think we need more creators and more folks talking about their successes and fans will celebrate it, right? But
there's an interesting balance between when does it become crass and commercial and when does it become, well, you're ignoring something that's really important we need to talk about, because ultimately you can't create if you can't eat.
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
And I'm well aware, even, we talked about Bakuman, the main character, the protagonist, right? I believe it's his uncle who actually suffers health issues because of how hard he's worked to try and maintain his place in the industry. Of course, I am very familiar, Hunter x Hunter, mangaka, if I pronounce that correctly, has often suffered injuries and back issues as well, where, to your point, I see your focus on, yes, the art is incredible and the craftsmanship is beautiful, but there are costs from a livability perspective, your ability to support yourself and so on.
Definitely. Kind of last question I have, going back to Karat a little bit, and you could take this in a good way or a bad way. What keeps you up at night?
I think for us, what's really clear to me is this market is really, really growing and it's really big. And I know that these new creators and creatively focused entrepreneurs need Karat. What is very, very hard is executing to ensure that we are the right product to solve their problems at the right time. Sometimes you can be too early. And we've been doing this now for over 5 years. I remember in the early days when we tried to explain to creators and creatives, hey, we're not helping you monetize. We're not helping you grow your following. We're not helping you find a platform with which you can create content. We help you handle the business financial side of what you do. There'd be a lot of confusion on what we are even for.
Right.
And
I think it's very easy for creators to understand, oh, like this is going to help me make revenue.
Yeah, this is going to help me make content, get followers, or make money. And it's really only the past couple of years, there's been so much more interest from creators saying, how do I also manage my business and finances? Because the industry is maturing to a point where folks are getting to that point, and when they don't, if you don't pay your taxes, you get screwed. If you're not making money, you get screwed. If you can't live in a house because you don't have credit, so you can't get a mortgage, you get screwed. People are now becoming aware, and Karat has actually grown a lot, I think, in brand presence and from a mindshare POV in creators and those in the industry on why this is important. But it doesn't change the fact that sometimes you might just be too early. And so for me, it's very much focused on, look, I know this market's growing. I know they need this, but are we the right people at the right time? Is a degree of uncertainty we'll never truly know. And all we can do right now is just try our best to go for it.
Yeah. I mean, riding a startup wave, right?
Yes.
It's you have to time it exactly correctly. So,
So much is timing and luck and opportunity. And we're very aware of that.
Amazing. Well, Eric, thank you for your time today. We hope you come to Japan anytime
I would
soon.
love to. Now I know I have a friend that I can stop by and learn more and say hi.
And we'll grab a drink.
I would look forward to that very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks. That's a wrap.